Wake up, dear friend, it's midnight. Welcome to the Clockwork Knight.
Introducing Sega Saturn. Aww, hit it!
The Sega Saturn. A unique history behind this little plastic box and its creation. Sega had reached a peak with the Sega Genesis, but the Sega CD and 32X made gamers react with horror. Not from the games, but from its Frankenstein-created nature. And the games. So scrap the add-on parts and make it into one system, i.e. the Saturn. A 3D-capable machine that can run CDs and produce the level of quality being seen in the arcades at the time. It was wowing people with its use of the Sega Model 1, but the company was having problems with the large price tag attached to it. Business-minded individuals who had watched other consoles that tried to boast the 3D aspect started to sweat as well, since it was believed at the time that the market still wasn't ready for 3D gaming. So the developer pack was sent out along with a notice. Use the Sega Model 1, but only focus on a 2D plane. It seemed like things would go well for the then-named Giga Drive to get ready for release when Sega was pushed aside by Sony. They announced their 3D-capable machine, and Sega at first waved it off, but then the tech demos came out and Sega began to panic. The new system that Sony was making made their Model 1 look so much weaker in comparison, and the customers flocked towards Sony. Sega sent out the order as fast as possible. A whole redesign of the Saturn. By God, we'll make it twice as good as that so-called PlayStation that Sony has. To do this, Sega needed games and had classic titles like Daytona USA, Virtua Fighter, and Virtua Cop all set for release before Christmas of 1994 in Japan. Alongside those few was another game that has been shuffled off to the side and, to my knowledge, hasn't been talked about very much. Clockwork Knight Pepper Rocho's Adventure is a side-scrolling platformer released to the United States on May 11, 1995 as the launch title for the Saturn. It acts as a showcase for the Saturn with its use of 2.5D obstacles like dollhouses falling or enemies from afar being able to actually change the water in the sink while you're in the kitchen. The story is simple, and in all honesty, when you make a release title, the story should be something easily understood with a clear goal in mind. Our hero, Sir Tongara de Pepper Rocho III, is a Clockwork Knight under service to Princess Chelsea. Chelsea lives inside a clock, and every midnight she appears and sings out a song to awaken the toys. Every night, the toys are able to fly, bounce, and have fun. Pepper Rocho, I'll call it Pepper from here on in, competes with Ginger for the affection of Chelsea and usually does it in a clumsy manner. One night, the power goes off and Chelsea is stolen away by a figure who is seen running through a vent nearby. It's now Pepper's job to rescue Chelsea before a magic singing spell ends and the toys become unable to come to life again. In the North American release, there is no cutscene between levels like the Japanese ones. Since this was a need done by pushing the Sega Saturn out as fast as possible, the North American release only had one scene that required translating, the ending cutscene. We'll get to there in a moment. Clockwork Knight rewards players for exploring the area with these coins, bottle caps, that can be used for a betting game between rooms. Occasionally, players can get lucky and find a gold wind-up key that increases the overall health of Pepper in his adventure. Don't die though, because if you do, you're back to having 3 health at the start of the level. There's not a lot to say about the gameplay. You have a key to use as a sword, which you thrust at enemies with a quick tap, or by repeatedly tapping a button, you can make Pepper spin and twist his key. Certain things can be pushed and pulled, picked up and thrown, or just need a little explosive to eliminate it. The variety of enemies on display is rather big between the clowns in a can, the football helmet guy, teddy bears in pots, and chain snakes. This is not including the bosses, which include a male doll wearing a giant top hat, a jet-flying transforming robot, a toy chef, and another robot that breaks apart, but still is able to attack you. final boss culminates between Pepper and a sentient TV screen that makes some rather unusual faces, including one of a toy that has not been seen. Defeating this TV gives us the ending. Pepper and the toys have rescued Chelsea, but something's up. If you're good with the game, you could potentially blaze through the game in less than an hour, and that is a curiosity. After the credits, players got to see one extra scene, Chelsea unable to wake up, and a to be continued at the end. In the research I've been able to do, I found some forums and videos saying the reason why the game was so short was because Sega, as I mentioned previously, was in panic mode, told the developers to take what little they had done, and then just make the rest into a separate game. This theory makes sense, since the game is really easy to get through, and adding in more levels would add further game time. But at the same time, by looking at the sequel, it didn't just reuse the same graphics, music, or baddies to a large extent. My theory is that when Clockwork Knight was made, they just wanted to make a simple showcase game and then be finished with it, but it was then suggested they extend the game by adding more. And more they did add in the sequel. Clockwork Knight 2 starts where you left off, going up against the final boss of the first game. Chelsea is then stolen away by bats. The TV enemy is still struggling and Pepper goes to finish the fight when Ginger, yeah, you remember that guy? Motions Pepper to chase after Chelsea's kidnappers. Pepper must now journey through Kids' Room, the study room, bathroom, and clock tower to find Chelsea once more, and this time, there's nothing stopping him. Not even a Mecha Dragon! We have Mecha Dragon on the premises! The enemies get a fresh coat of paint and look better than they were in the first Clockwork Knight. And this time around, you can now ride your horse! Well, it's not a horse, it's a bottle basket thing. The levels with your trusted steed continue to show off the 2.5D platforming as you can ride along separate tracks and weave in and out between them if you are quick enough. The bosses are also unique in their own way. Instead of before, it was just dolls with big hats and robots. This time you have to deal with a blockworm with a microphone, a sentient sheet of paper that can transform itself into various animals, a pyrodopus, that's Pirate Octopus by the way, and a castle, king, robot, what? And then the Mecha Dragon. There's no change in the gameplay here, just stab and jump as you've done before. This time though, try to find 4 cards in each level. By doing this, you can get a gold key and add to your life, and if you find all 4 in every level, you're given a secret code to input. When you encounter the dragon, you know someone is in control of it. Break down the dragon, and you'll get Chelsea free from the dragon's grip. With the dragon now broken, we see who the original culprit is. It's Pepper's grandpa? Supposedly he was controlled by an evil power, but whatever that was, we're never shown it. The entire cutscene is done in the style of a silent movie, showing the character then showing text on screen of what they're saying. The sudden explanation of Ginger being Chelsea's brother at the end to explain why his key is able to get Chelsea awake is really off-putting, since Pepper and Ginger were meant to be rivals for Chelsea's heart. How you could forget someone like a sibling is one thing, but forgetting you have a sister and then finding out the one you're trying to win affection over is your sister should result in more than just a single sentence. The game ends by showing all the enemies, the cast, and a short snippet about them. To be honest, Clockwork Knight is a serviceable platformer, but nothing to hoop and holler about. Maybe Clockwork Knight won't ever make a comeback and will just remain as of note for the Sega Saturn as a launch title and nothing more. But my nostalgia for a game that captivated me with its color and helped cultivate a respect for future platformers demanded I at least acknowledge it. There were talks of a third game that was prototyped for the Sega Saturn, a puzzle game that was titled Clockwork Knight Tengen War. In issue 3 of Sega Saturn magazine, it was titled Clockwork Knight Puzzle. But ultimately the game was never published and the prototype is all that remains of this unheard title. Going slightly further in, a proposed game for the Nintendo GameCube titled Night and Night was meant to be a part of the Clockwork Knight series as well, but no news of the game since its reports in 2003 have come out. Think about how many Sonic games have been pumped up by Sega. What about the sequel to Nights into Dreams, Journey of Dreams? I understand Nights had a following, but come on, don't tell me that Clockwork Knight wouldn't be something that could be revamped and made into a great game. It's bright, colorful, and could slide in rather well with the indie game scene. It's simple as a game, as a story and could be made modern with the additions of flying drones or RC vehicles. Maybe make entire sets of toys, like a western theme for cowboys, a space theme with rockets and astronauts. Just imagine a theme that could fit in and have Pepper run through as he tries to search for Chelsea. Time's up for Clockwork Knight as we go to the patented series review line, which measures what is the best for the series in comparison to the worst. Clockwork Knight 2 added more challenge and felt like a more complete game in comparison to Clockwork Knight. It is the surefire winner between the only two published titles for the series. Got a movie, game, or TV series you want me to look at? Leave a comment on this video and I'll gladly look into it. Until then, I'm grabbing my shotgun and power armor for the next series review. Get serious!